Arizona straight to the line. There's the snap to Murray. Murray looks left, pumps once, looking. A lot of time. Now he throws, and it's intercepted by the Lions. Picked off down the left sideline. Oruwariye picks up a block at the 30, 25, 20, Amani 10, 5, and he's spun out of bounds right there. I see you, 24. I see you.
Welcome to Ford Field for the Twentyman the Huddle podcast presented by Microsoft. And unfortunately, we didn't get an Amani Oruwariye interception. No turnovers. PJ Clark joining me for the Twentyman the Huddle post-game here from Ford Field. Detroit Lions dropping their season and home opener 38-35. A lot of stuff to kind of get through there, Peach, huh?
There was a lot going on in that game. I mean, with 73 total points, you would think so, but there's a lot to cover.
And the Lions are down 17 in the second half. At one point, you think, oh, boy, this is over. I'm, beginning to write my recap already. Yeah. And then, boom, that grit, right, that Dan Campbell always talks about. The guys are able to fight their way back. It becomes a 3-point game. The offense scores 4 touchdowns on their last 5
It's like the
possessions.
season opener last year.
Yeah.
It became a one-possession game at the end against a good San Francisco team that was a playoff team and a good Philadelphia team that was a playoff team.
Yeah, and so, you like some of the things you saw Sunday. Obviously, there's some things that they need to clean up, and we'll go through all of it. I think let's start. For one really good thing I liked, one thing that they need to work on. I think when you talk about Dan Campbell and what he wants this football team to be, right, I think it starts in the run game, and I think it's on both sides of the football. I think he wants to be a team offensively that can control pace, that can dictate how they want to play via the run, and then you open things up behind it with the pass game. You want to get guys in the box and make that be a focal point. And I thought 181 rushing yards. DeAndre Swift with 144.
He was unbelievable. I mean, that was a good start towards 1,000.
Yeah, that's the prediction. That's not the prediction, but that's the goal DeAndre set for himself a couple weeks ago when we were in the joint practices in Indianapolis. And you're right. What a great start. And he's been healthy all through camp. He's looked different to me in camp versus first 2 seasons. And, boy, he was ready to roll. But the flip side of it is Dan Campbell also wants this team to be good against the run, right, defensively. Want to be able to stop that, want to be a staple on defense. And just quite frankly, through the first 18 games of his tenure, they haven't been able to do it.
No.
They ranked 28th against the run last year.
Very similar output today as the Philly game last year. Different score, but very similar way of how the Eagles put up points and commanded this game.
216 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. They averaged 5.5 yards per carry. And Jalen Hurts, they really had a tough time containing Jalen Hurts all game. He threw for 243 yards, which, 18 of 32. I thought they did an all right job in the passing game. He hit a couple big plays. The one, the 54-yarder late was obviously a big one, but 90 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. A couple times, Peach on 3rd and long, being able to scramble
get out of the pocket
and make plays, and also on 4th down, 4th and goal, rushing for a touchdown. And that's something, Dan Campbell knows that he has to really clean up. He put the onus on him and his coach. He said this is what he had to say after the game about defending Jalen Hurts, a rushing quarterback, and just be even better against the run overall.
Yeah, I did. And, we had a lot of, I'm almost in position. I got a hand, and we just couldn't close it out. So, look, I think we'll be better for that. You face a guy like that. And, look, there was a number of guys out there. It's first game of the season. It's a full game. Now you're into real tempo, real NFL tempo against real dudes. And I think it got on some guys, but they'll all be better for it. Everybody will be better. And we'll be in a little better shape, too, after 1 week.
I think he's right. I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
The first game, you're kind of feeling it out. You haven't played 60-plus snaps yet. But the trend, I just don't like the trend I'm seeing with this defense against the run. It almost seems like week after week you'll have a good week, but then 2, 3 where you don't. And it's just hard to play good defense in the NFL when teams can run.
And especially with the running quarterback, that's something. And we talked about it even after Mariota ran against that first team in the preseason game. Yeah. It's not something that the Lions have on the roster. It's not something you see. So it's hard to come back and Lions 0 for 2, I would say, against running quarterbacks so far this year.
The positive moving forward from that
Definitely
is
positive.
you go through, I went through the schedule, and I'm like, oh, boy, okay, when could the Lions face another quarterback like that where this could maybe come up again? And I had to go till, I think it was November 14 in Justin Fields in Chicago.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's the good thing is, look, you don't have a lot of those guys in the divisions, just Justin. Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers aren't going to run for 90 yards on you. So,
and even Dak at this point,
Geno
maybe used to
Smith,
do it. Yeah,
I
but
mean, those guys just aren't going to.
Not Jalen Hurts, not Justin Fields, for sure.
No. And so I guess that's the positive moving forward is that you don't have a bunch of these situations lined up. But you know as well as I do, it's a copycat league.
Yep.
And so, look, if you've got a dual threat quarterback and you saw that today, that's your game plan.
It's like Wentz is a guy, not a running quarterback, but he can move a little bit. He's not exactly a pocket passer. He can get outside a little bit. I would be surprised if Washington didn't try to add something in after seeing the tape from today.
So, the rushing part of it were the two things that I kind of took away from this. What were a couple things that you took away from this?
I think that Jeff Okudah was phenomenal. And outside of the one bomb to A.J. Brown, I thought the pass defense was pretty good, especially Philly started off real slow in the pass game. Jalen Hurts, that first drive, he was all running. He was not doing anything through the pass game. He was, throwing in the middle of the field. He had nothing going for him. It was all to the sidelines. So I think you're happy with the perimeter today outside of the one bomb to A.J. Brown.
And that bomb wasn't even Jeff Okudah.
No, it was Will Harris.
It was Will Harris. Jeff Okudah wasn't on the field. And here's what Dan had to say about Jeff and the way he played.
What happened with him? He left the game. I don't know if it was we were just being smart with reps. We just got him back. He's in a good place. We were just trying to, let's monitor a little bit and not overdo it, but yet certainly get him his plays. So we're trying to work a couple of guys that way to be smart.
And I was seeing on Twitter after the game too, Jeff was, saying that he was dealing with some cramps here and there, which is not surprising at all. That young man
first game hasn't
played a game in that many reps, and he obviously had the Achilles injury week 1 last year, so not surprised. But I agree with you. I thought he played pretty well. I think you look at the numbers, 10 tackles overall, got his hand on a pass, defended one. I thought he was really good in the run support. He gave up a couple plays, but look, you're going to give up a couple plays in this league. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Jalen Ramsey the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's the best in the business. That's just how it is. It happens. It's gonna. But you have to take the totality of the game and watch it, and it'll be interesting to see some of the numbers, from Pro Football Focus and some of that stuff tomorrow. I'll be really interested to watch. But I thought it was a pretty good game for a guy who hasn't played football in a regular season game in a year.
And it's everybody wanted to talk. Yeah, A.J. Brown is a superstar and a big acquisition, but they have a two-headed monster over there. Devontae Smith is not a slouch, and he got shut out today.
0. I know that because he might or might not be on my fantasy team.
Yeah, well, not a good day for you then.
And then let's go to the other side of the ball, and you look at Detroit. And I thought there were some positive things to take away from this. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, calling his first game. Detroit moves down the field.
The script was great.
Was great.
Yeah.
First possession, boom, move down, and you score a touchdown. You're up 7-0. It looked great. Swift with his first carry of the season for 50 yards. You complete some passes. Hutchinson has a great catch on 3rd down, and it just was all on schedule, like you said, and you score. But then, 3 and out.
Not ideal.
Pick 6. And there's a lull there, And now they did get the touchdown right before the half, but and then you scored touchdowns on 4 of your last 5 possessions, but it's that lull that was right there, and it just seemed to really bother Jared Goff after the game, that kind of 4 possession. He thought that was the difference in the game, and I think it is too.
Yeah, we felt like we could have scored 50 today. I mean, we left a lot of points out there, and it wasn't, you tip your cap to the Eagles. They're a damn good team, but we shot ourselves in the foot all day long, specifically during that lull, and felt like if we don't do that during that period of time, it's a different outcome. But that's what happened, and we got to fix it.
I agree, and they do have to fix it. But I think you take some positives from this. For me, you rushed for 181 yards.
Yep.
You scored 35 points against a top 10 defense last year. That added players to make them better.
Yeah, Bradbury came up huge today.
Yeah, very good. Another thing, they were 9 of 14 on 3rd down, 64%. This was a Lions team that ranked 31st in the NFL in third down percentage last year at
Yep.
30-some%. So I think there's a lot of positives to take from this. Yes, that I think you score on one of those possessions at 4 possessions. I think this is a different game, and you probably get a win. But there's some good things to take from this offensively. You agree?
I think the one possession to me was that second possession where Philly goes for it on 4th down at like the Lions. What was that, like 45-ish, something like that?
Right
you
in
take over there, and then you go 3 and out, and that was brutal.
Yeah,
that was the momentum shift, and that was 7-7. You're still there. Maybe you don't need points necessarily, but 3 and out there was the worst possible thing that could have happened.
Yeah, and then the pick six, obviously a little miscommunication there between Goff and his receiver. He thought he was gonna cut in, he cut out, and it just it is what it is.
It was a great play. I mean, it was a tip drill. It was a great catch by Bradbury, and it happens.
It happens, and now you're down 14. And now you're just playing that catch-up game. I like the fact that Ben Johnson, despite being down by as many as 17 points in the second half, did not get away from the run game. Did not let Philadelphia's pass rush be able to tee off on Goff, which is normally the case. The team's down 17. Now they become pass happy. You're going to throw. You can pin your ears back and go get them. I thought Ben Johnson was good in the fact that he kept Swift involved. They continued to run, and they hit some runs, and it kept Philly on their toes, or on their heels, I should say, a little bit, and allowed Detroit, I think, to get back in the game.
And I think that's the key, is keeping Swift involved, because that's your best player. You got to give him the ball, maybe not run straight into the line every time, but he had the one down on the, this is bad radio, but the left side of the field where he bounced it outside on the Lions side, and that's get him in space and get him the ball on screens or quick outs or whatever you can do to just keep him involved, even if it's running the ball down points, which is not conventional.
Well, because he's so dangerous with the ball in his hands, in open space. So it's even that short passing game like you talked about. So he also had 3 catches for 31 yards. That's a 10.3 average. He had the nice long one of 25 and 175 total yards.
That's great.
If DeAndre Swift has 175 yards in most games, I think you're going to feel pretty good about Detroit having a chance to win that game like they did today.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk just real quick. Aidan Hutchinson, number 2 overall pick. What'd you think of his debut?
Honestly, what Coach said post game is they had a lot of guys with hands there but couldn't quite make the play. I think that sums up Aidan Hutchinson's day. Is he was in the backfield, he was there, he was getting off blocks, he just never quite got
finished.
There. Yeah.
Finish. That's the word with Hutchinson. He's going to watch this tape, and just knowing him, and we've talked to him a lot, he's going to be upset with himself because there were some opportunities to make some plays, even late in that game on that 3rd down run. He had a chance there and didn't. A couple times he was in the backfield, was close to getting a grasp of Hurts, and he's able to escape for first downs. And, he finished the game with 1 assisted tackle, no sacks, no real impact plays.
This is a top 5 offensive line, though. This might be the best offensive line in football. You're not going to see many, if any, better than this.
No, that's a good
year.
point. That's definitely a good point by you as well. But and Dan said after the game, look, he's going to get better. We're going to see a different guy next week. Like, to your point, it's not as good an offensive line next week. I'd be surprised if we don't see a little bit more production from him. Defensively, a couple guys stood out. Obviously Tracy Walker with
he was all over the place.
He was all over. 11 tackles, 1 sack, a tackle for loss, a quarterback hit, a defender. He even made a special teams tackle. But guess what, Peach? When you need a play late in the game, you'd like to have your best defensive players on the field.
Yeah.
Am I wrong by that?
No. Especially the guy you just gave a lot of money to.
Especially the guy that had 100 tackles last year, the legend tackles.
Yeah.
You need a big 3rd down tackle. You'd love to have that guy in the field. And Tracy Walker wasn't on the field because he was in the locker room.
Yeah.
And he was in the locker room because he got ejected from this game.
Not great.
And he got ejected. Look, he hit Jalen Hurts late and high on a slide. There
was a lot going on with Jalen Hurts today.
Yeah.
Every time that he slid, somebody was coming in, and I was surprised it was only 1 flag.
I thought he slid late a lot.
Yep.
And I think the refs even noticed that too. And I remember one time he slid pretty late, and Ordiwariye kind of hit him.
Yep.
And the referee
Refs
ran
were
in and
go.
said, no.
Yep.
Like, it was late slide. Like, that's not on the defense. And you've got to – you've got to protect the defensive players as well.
Because they're just, they're just trying to make a stop.
But Tracy's was blatant.
Yes.
And high.
Yeah.
And then he gets into a scuffle, throws a punch, and gets another personal foul penalty. Once you get 2, you're out of the game. So your leading tackler, one of your best defenders, a guy you just paid huge money to, out of the game in the third quarter, and you don't have him late. And look, he talked after the game, and he admitted, look, I can't do that. I'm a team leader. I'm a captain. I let my guys down. So he said all the right things, but that's just a play that can't happen. He's got to be smarter than that.
And that sets you up at a position of safety. Like Juju Hughes got a lot of snaps then. And it's not that Juju Hughes is not, capable, but that it's not a position with a lot of depth.
No.
And like you said, Tracy's one of your best players, too.
Right. And so it was tough. Malcolm Rodriguez, obviously he's gotten a lot of hype here because of Hard Knocks, because of the camp he's had started today. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. I thought, he made a couple nice plays in the pass game. You saw his range. He filled a couple.
Run fills were great.
We saw the little salsa dance after a tackle for loss, so that was good too. Did you like that? Throw that out there. But like Hutchinson, he's a guy that's going to continue to improve.
It's game one.
It's game one, but I like kind of where he finished. I mean, 6 tackles, the tackle for loss. So not bad for him. I think it was a good debut.
Yeah, and especially at such a pivotal position of linebacker that, for him to show up in game one and just provide you with any positives, you got to take it from a 6th-round pick. I know he's gotten a ton of hype, but you still got to keep it in that context. If this is a 6th-round pick, and anything you're getting from him right now is already positive value.
No, for sure. Good point by you. And so, look, I think there's some encouraging things to take from this offensively. That's a good defensive football team there. Then you were able to put up 35 points despite a lot of missed opportunities. I think there's some drops, some missed throws. There could have been a ton more big plays in the passing game. The one late with Josh Reynolds dropping that one, he was behind the defender. I think that was a touchdown.
I think that was a bad drop, but I think getting him more involved, because Chark got more involved as the game went on. St. Brown kind of came on a little bit. He dropped a couple early, but then came on a little bit as the game went on. Getting Josh Reynolds, you need that third guy, I think, to really make this thing go.
And I think that passing game will start to go. I think this is good for them to know that the opportunities are there. Mm-hmm. Now it's just a matter of completing them. And so I'd be more concerned if guys weren't open, if you didn't see any separation, if there weren't any big play possibilities. That wasn't the case. Yeah. They just didn't take advantage of them. And I think if you're Ben Johnson, if you're Jared Goff, I think you can watch this tape and see some positives about. Like Jared said, they think they could have probably scored 50. I think they're right. If they make a few of those plays defensively, they got to be better against the run. It's just that simple. They've got to tighten that part of their defense up. Like you mentioned earlier and talked about, and it was a good point about the pass defense. It wasn't bad. Like Jalen Hurts didn't have a passing touchdown in this game. Everything they did was really set up and started with the run. Yep. And whether it's the quarterback running, it's the running backs. I mean, Miles Sanders had 96 rushing yards, a 7.4 average, and a touchdown. Again, the 7-point average, 5.3 average, 4.0 average. I'm looking at these 5.5 total as a run game. It's hard to win football games when teams can run up and down the field and own that time of possession. And so I think offensively you feel good about this game. Defensively, you've got some things to clean up, especially in the run game. But 38-35 against a playoff team.
I was going to say,
not a bad start.
No, the competition is going down next week. Philadelphia is a playoff team that got a lot better that you saw last year, and now you're playing a Washington team that you didn't have the prior history with for this regime and is not a playoff team and did not look particularly great today.
Yeah. So they'll look at the tape. Dan Campbell will talk on Monday. We'll get in the locker room with some players. Obviously, a 20-minute in the Huddle podcast next week. I'll get some players on. We'll get a Washington preview. We'll get into all that, and we'll be back here next Sunday night doing it all again, right?
Week
and hopefully 1-1. So we got a busy week. 38-35 final here, week 1. The Lions are losers to begin the season 0-1. But, I think there's some positives to take from this. We'll see what they have to say about this one. We'll move on to Washington.